Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with me. I am Vitold and I'm happy to present to you all the pros and cons that I have observed during my time of riding a Suzuki V-Strom 800DE shortly after it had been first launched. It is a very interesting proposition on the market, and there are some things that this bike does very well and some that it is doing in a less advanced way than we may expect it to, or simply worse than its competitors. I will present you what I like and don't like about it so that it's easier for you to pay attention to the areas that you yourselves consider the most important. Choosing or even judging a motorcycle is very emotional and it's highly subjective, so make sure that you test one before buying it, as you may have very different preferences than many others, myself included. So now let's head first to what's great, and then I'll gently move to showing you what's not necessarily that great, in my opinion. The first pro of the V-Strom 800DE is its amazing handling that kicks in from around 20 km per hour and remains fantastic, and I mean fantastic, up till approximately 80 km per hour. In this range of speeds, which is actually very common, this is a fantastic bike to deal with. It is a pure pleasure, it is encouragement, and it is no effort riding that it offers. I am truly super impressed, and it's a big pro here. In the second spot, there is V-Strom's 800DE's comfortable suspension that deals with the bumps really well, and it guarantees pretty much a fairly gently approach to our backs. I very much appreciate that, and I'm glad that Suzuki implemented in this bike a vision of longer travel suspension, being a perfect introduction to using that for the good and actually to enhance riding comfort. This is a big one for me. The third one is a very comfortable seat. It's fixed at one height without being adjustable, but its shape makes it provide decent support and space at the same time. I'm definitely a fan, especially that good seats are not so common. And now in the next one, watch an unusual one coming from me. So in the fourth strong point to me, there is that since this V-Strom 800DE feels pretty light when riding it, it has impressive suspension travel and ground clearance. It may be a fun thing to actually take and ride on some gravel road, on some back road, well, while of course keeping it within reason. I mean, to have some fun off the pavement. Well, these bikes are in fact touring bikes with a decent performance and higher positioned seats, but this one actually feels encouraging to take it for some exploring. Do not quote me on that. If you decide to do it on your own risk, if you feel like, but I felt that urge when riding the new V-Strom 800DE, and I usually don't have it. So maybe you will too. Alright, the next fifth pro is that unusually confident and easy to get used to throttle and clutch operation, setting off from a standstill. Maybe it's because I used to ride a Suzuki as my daily motorcycle before, but I feel that rather it's just done in a way that most people will find very friendly to operate. It's so interesting and so obvious to me that I feel it should have its own spot here on this list. In the sixth pro, we've got a more controversial and subjective one, as I personally am not that huge of a fan, but I know that some of you may be, and it's about this 800DE being so quiet at idle and also not transferring any vibration when just standing, for example, at traffic lights. So much that it feels like the engine isn't even running at times. It resembles an electric vehicle in this manner, and some may like it, I think. The seventh advantage may be carrying the trusted name of a V-Strom family that is strong in motorcycle community and should be having a pretty good image. This one looks nothing like the original V-Strom 1000 or even 650, I mean, especially in this case 650, from the times when it was one of the top motorcycles, even beating BMWs, Ducatis and KTMs in many areas, going head to head with them. But now this 800DE, it looks like a Cyclops. But I get the business decision of giving it a good and powerful name. And the last 8th pro on my list is what I call good value for money, as you're getting really a lot of a capable motorcycle for what you pay for it, and it already comes with some equipment and not being bone naked like some other competitors. If you would be able to get an even better deal on it, reinvest some of that saved money in some design pack with a different front light, this could be the thing. Of course, provided that you can accept its cons, so let's move to them now after this wave of compliments. And the first downside of this new V-Strom 800DE is that its engine is not the most explosive when it's being compared to some of its competitors of the similar size and engine capacity. It's not slow, but especially given the handling advantages and the stimulation that comes with that, I would feel at times like I would like to have it backed with performance too. And this is a similar story to Honda Transalp, where I stated in one of my videos that if it had the Africa Twins engine, it would be so close to perfection. Here with Suzuki, if this one had the engine from a V-Strom 1050, it also would overall be then so much closer to my own perfection. The second thing on the list is the fact that there isn't that much available adjustability on this 800DE in places like wind protection and seat. Windscreen is not adjustable unless you take a tool, unscrew the bolts, move the windscreen to another position, screw it back, which obviously is a very limited possibility, and hence I don't even count it as a really adjustable solution here. The original V-Strom had it back in 2004, and I have a feeling that in 20 years something's marginally possible to be improved within the brand. Not here, clearly. Also, the seat is not adjustable, unlike in some other motorcycles in this segment. I'm getting already a bit emotional after having owned the Suzuki with a V-Strom name on it, as I wish them well, knowing how good the original V-Strom was 20 years ago. Today, my expectations because of this are, well, compared are through the roof, but you see. Anyhow, the third thing you might want to pay attention to is the position behind the handlebar, which can be weird for some. The seat allows you for a very comfortable position, almost encourages you to lean back and relax, but then that really wide handlebar that's moved a bit too much forward for my liking, it forces you to lean forward. So there is a potential conflict in your body that may turn into a war. So be warned. The angles of upper body are a little bit off for me then, and I would like to bring the bars closer to myself, and then I would be fully happy. So it's doable and not a big deal, so don't get discouraged, but rather if you feel like I feel on it, simply take action and adapt the bike to yourself. You could do that if you had the office chairs like my 7G11 that's adjustable in 18 ways, with the trick being in the type of adjustment, which is electric. This also lets it to move pretty much every part of itself. Well, I would love to have that many possibilities on a bike. You can check these at powerseats.eu. You can get them shipped anywhere you are in the world. Now, the fourth con of the V-Strom 800DE is that above the speed of around 80 kilometers per hour, it doesn't turn as well anymore. It's also not perfect at crawling speeds, so then below those 20 kilometers per hour. And while here it's fairly common in the segment of motorcycles with long travel suspension and tall front wheels to be like that, the behavior above 80 kilometers per hour may successfully limit the fun that you can have on this bike. It really starts to fight back very hard, which is noticeable, especially after amazing us first at lower speeds. It really needs to be pushed later on at higher speeds to lean and to start turning. It is doable, but simply it's not fun anymore. So beware and see if it suits you, your riding style, where you will ride, and how fast you will be riding. If you're going to be riding very fast all the time and trying to conquer turns, try it first. Then in the fifth point on the list, there are vibrations of the foot pegs that are insane, that are crazy, and that are mind-blowing. You won't understand it until you experience it. I didn't understand it before, and now I do after riding this V-Strom. That would have to be somehow fixed for me if I were to ride this bike for longer. The sixth con is connected with design. So a totally subjective topic, but what we can mostly agree on is that this front face is at least controversial. I call it very ugly, and to me this is an important part, but I also like the design of a large KTM 1290 Super Adventure, which many of you guys don't agree is the right perspective. You think it's ugly, so you may disregard this whole point just as well here. Then in the seventh spot, there are tubed tires. So tires additionally with tubes inside so that the air doesn't exit through the rims that are spoked. It is a strange solution to cutting costs, most likely. It may or may not be a pain later when it comes to replacing them, but just remember to warn the shop that these are tube tires so that they don't do anything that they should not be doing to them while working on normal tires otherwise. And the last 8th con of this V-Strom 800DE from my perspective is that there isn't as much tech available as for some other motorcycles in the segment. So for example, there is no cornering ABS, there is no cruise control, there is no keyless ignition, which is actually quite rare here, but it can be found, and electronically adjustable suspension, for example. It could have been better here. I'm not sure it matters so much to so many, but there have been the discussions about the lack of cruise control in such a bike already, especially this one. Now, it is what it is. I hope that this has been useful to you guys and will help you get your own perspective and evaluate this V-Strom 800DE. Now, check my full review of it. That's linked in the description, and subscribe to see next similar videos.